Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando. I'm Beverly Alig, one of the worship helpers. We welcome all to join us as we explore our Unitarian Universalist faith, which draws us into a community of justice seekers with a commitment to lifelong spiritual growth and compassionate service to the community. In today's service, we celebrate and recognize the many volunteers who help tend the fires at 1U and invite you to consider if there is a role for you. Our worship leaders today are the Reverend Margalie Belizaire, our music director, Aubrey Connelly-Candelario, worship associate Kat Rigby, Beverly Alig, Nikki Drumb, Martha and John Hartgering, Kathy and Dan Homblette, Barbara Howe, Patty Reynolds, and Rene Stuzman. Our announcements now run before and after the service. All announcements have links in the weekly update or in our website, and will be shown again after the service. We hope to see you at fellowship after the service. We have one special announcement this week. Learn about the First Unitarian Church of Orlando and Unitarian Universalism at the Winter Spring 2022 Path to Membership. The series is from 11:30 to 1 on specific Sundays. Please contact members at orlandouu.org for the schedule. I'm here today as a volunteer with the worship service. I don't have to be here. I want to be here. I enjoy the small participatory part in the worship service. I don't enjoy leading committees or taking on long-range projects, but I like helping in other ways, facilitating Wellspring classes, or helping with potlucks, remember them? Reading the welcoming words in a service, greeting people at in-person services. Where would programs be without volunteers? What would religious education be without volunteers? Or social justice actions? Or the renovation of our campus? Or coffee hour? Whirl? Rum? The garden? Tai Chi? Movie classes? Meditation group? Choir? Mystic Grove? And on and on and on. Volunteers help our paid staff make this church the dynamic, loving, engaged community I am proud to be a part of here in Orlando. A big thanks to all who volunteer here.
My name is Barbara, and I love food and I love music. That's why you'll find me in choir and folk ensemble and setting up for coffee hour occasionally when we're back in person. I couldn't do any of this without the helping hands and willing hearts and voices of lots of other volunteers. Volunteers are the heart and soul and fuel of this congregation. Volunteers keep us vibrant. Volunteering keeps us connected. And I echo Beverly's thanks to all our selfless 1U volunteers. You rock. Please join me as we light the chalice. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share.
Hello, and before I call us to worship, we do have a second special announcement, and that is you are invited to a memorial service to celebrate and honor Ann Cook on Saturday, February 12th at 1 p.m. If we've returned to in-person service by that time, the service will be here and it will be followed by a reception with chocolate cake and ice cream, which are Ann's favorites. Otherwise, we will meet on Zoom, and the links are in the weekly, the link is in the weekly update. So, I also want to say I forgot to, before Beverly did the welcome, to say 1U volunteers, thank you for your time and dedication to this community. Today, on the last Sunday of January 2022, the worship service is a big thank you to all the 1U volunteers who freely give of their time, attention, and commitment to the ministries of this community. Know that all of your hard work and efforts do not go unnoticed. I am grateful for you and feel blessed to be doing ministry with all of you. During our time together this morning, we're making space to hear you and your own words talk about your volunteer experience here in our church community. Although just a few will be sharing, I am well aware that you are just a small representation of the many who help tend the fires in this community. Let's hear your voice. Use the chat to post why you work in the service of this community. And if you have not had the opportunity, I invite you to pay attention to the words to see what resonate with you during the service. What feelings rise to the surface for you, and how might you feel called to serve? Thank you for all that you do. I now call us to worship with Song of the Unsung by Steve Crump. May at least some of the words speak to you. You make the coffee, set the tables, or organize the cleaning when the rest of us have long gone home. You know where the brooms and the supplies are kept. You run to the store in the nick of time. You find the great stuff to sell at the fundraiser. You remember to use I language. You speak passionately with a clear voice and listen with open-mindedness. You consider your tone when you speak. You say you want to be a part of the solution, part of the healing, by hanging in there. You come up with new ideas. You gracefully accept the group's choosing someone else's idea. You step up to make the extra contribution. You make welcoming room for others. You acknowledge children and are happy to be around them. You hold a child, hold confidence, and hold a hand. You go the extra mile, contribute the extra dollar, and give the benefit of doubt. You know that church life is all about relationships. And because you know this, your spiritual discipline of forgiveness is always at hand. You, with your presence alone, offer a holy companionship. You accompany others in the dark night of the soul. You do what you do because you can. You often wish you could do more. Your labor, not for praise or for a song, but for the good and doing of work. But we sing this song of praise for you, the unsung in our church. And our hearts are glad in the singing because we know the many things you do. We appreciate you very much. Come, beloveds, let us worship together. When you volunteers, you make a difference.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Homblette. Let me start with a shout out to those who served our congregation before me. Their efforts and vision meant First Unitarian was a bustling and welcoming spot for our family when we arrived here with a toddler in 1982 from Wisconsin in search of a community. I knew no details about how the church worked, but those leaders kept at it, they kept it going, inviting me to participate as time and energy allowed. Eventually, I could say yes to tasks and then to leadership. I was ready to move from visitor, guest, and grateful recipient to owner, co-manager, and inviter myself. As Reverend Kathy used to say, I was ready to trade my bib for an apron. It was my turn to pay it forward. My life has been enriched beyond measure over these years as a result of my involvement here at First Unitarian. I've learned much from the stories and journeys of other 1U members and friends. I have companions on my journey to deepen my spiritual life. I'm co-creating a community of welcome, fostering a culture that encourages all to find their way to participate and contribute. I can use and grow my skills as a leader and a follower as I work to be my best UU self. And I have found that my FOMO, my fear of missing out, is soothed as I keep involved in many facets of congregational life. I'm drawn to the phrase shared ministry, which highlights the intention of matching personal gifts with opportunities to serve in support of the mission and vision of our congregation. Service to the mission of our congregation somehow seems like more than just volunteering, which so many of us try to do in our larger community. Instead of doing church work, we're doing the work of the church. And that means transforming ourselves and the world. That means helping create opportunities to reveal personal gifts and match those with ways to serve. It means supporting a professional minister and paid staff with our unpaid service, all of us working toward the same goal. I find deep meaning in sharing in the ministry of this congregation, and I am so grateful to have had this and continue to have a chance to serve.
Good morning. I'm Dan Homblette. Got to learn how to use a computer. Around the time of the annual giving campaign, we often hear the phrase, giving of your time, talents, and treasures regarding how we can support 1U. Over the 40 years that we belong to this church, our family dynamics, including having kids, our jobs, and other non-church obligations, drove what part of the time, talents, and treasures we were best able to fulfill. In the time of 50 to 60-hour work weeks and young kids, family time drove the equation, and at least for me, Sundays were often best spent at work, keeping my head above water, while Kath came to church with the kids. Outside of church, it gave me more time with the kids. Thankfully, that period of work craziness declined, and I was able to bring some talents to church in the form of teaching and RE. Eventually, I was able to commit to a committee or two and eventually the board. Giving time and talents was easier for us then than the treasure part. Fast forward a decade or two with kids, now adults, and traditional work behind us, we've been able to give more in each of the 3 T's. The time and talent part, or volunteering, gives me great sense of pride in being part of an organization that is critical to the well-being of its members and friends, as well as the community we are a part of. But even more so, I want 1U to be there for the future generations, those with us today and those yet to be born. Basically, passing it forward to the future. For the most part, I operate in the shallow end of spirituality. For me, it's hard to answer those deeper questions that pop up in Covenant Group. I feel like Wellspring would be a bit of a challenge, but there is a deep feeling of joy and peace when I think of this place and what it means to me, my family, our members and friends, and the community. Function here, sorry. Well, let me say, please sing along with me next.
Come sing a song with me, that I might know your when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come.
One, you volunteers, thank you for bringing hope into this community and for singing songs of love to us.
Good morning. I'm Nikki Drumb, and this spring I'll be celebrating my 26th anniversary as a member of 1U. That's kind of a significant threshold for me in that I'm 52 years old. So this church and I have been a part of each other for half my life now. As long as I've been here, I've only volunteered at 1U once. I think it was either my second or third Sunday back in 1996. After a service during fellowship, pitchers of water needed refilling. A keen observation on my part because I was thirsty and there was no water. So off I go with a handful of empty pitchers looking for a kitchen. And I come back eventually balancing now very full vessels, slowly weaving through a crowd of seemingly friendly and dry people. Trying to make eye contact and not spill, I'm stopped by another newcomer who asks me a question, because when you're traveling with water pitchers, you look like an authority. Suddenly, I'm feeling like a host rather than a guest. I start welcoming others, seeking out empty cups and offering water, having stumbled upon a way to feel more comfortable engaging with folks I don't know. I'd come to the worship service out of a need to metaphorically fill my cup, which it certainly did. And I ended up seeing a need that needed filling and found my own self fulfilled in that as well. That's the only time I volunteered at 1U. Since then, I've been just doing what I see as being an active, participating member. I've participated in pride parades, youth groups, religious education, social justice initiatives. And in all of it, being of service and being served has been so intertwined, they're indistinguishable to me. When I joined the church, I brought with me skills, talents, and experience, as well as curiosity, inexperience, and a goodly amount of not knowing any better. Early on, I probably offered a seemingly innocent suggestion that started something like, "You know what somebody ought to do?" In that moment, I unknowingly volunteered or became an actively participating member. To first get involved in something that I was called to do, I became a worship associate, where a small group of us went through a 9-month process with our minister, learning about the different aspects of a worship service, what makes it worshipful and spiritual rather than a lecture or performance, how words and music and themes and timing and planning, researching and searching our hearts all get woven into the fabric of this sacred hour. Eventually, I delivered worship services. I would step up, jump in, and gladly write a sermon, facilitate a service, even act in or write a children's story at the last minute when called upon. What I got in return, besides that 9 months of free training, was meaningful soul searching, a deeper understanding of Unitarian Universalism, a defining and honing of my personal spiritual identity, improving my writing, overcoming my fear of public speaking, mostly, acquiring and nurturing skills I've taken with me into so many other aspects of my life, all in this sacred space where I feel compelled and challenged to do great things, yet in this safe space where I feel like I can screw up or fall short and still be loved and accepted. This one time, back in 2001, our Reverend Dr. Marnie Harmony was going to be out of town in mid-September, so I was going to get to do the service that Sunday. I found myself facing our congregation, leading worship 5 days after 9/11. I don't remember much about what I said or just how far I might have fallen short that day. But I don't think it really mattered. What mattered was that all of us showed up. Everyone who came with their own broken vessels and empty cups, committed to being there together, each of us volunteering to be vulnerable, being participating members in holding one another in an effort to heal ourselves, each other, and our world as best we could. UUs have a reputation for being the ones who show up. When we are empty and when we are overflowing, may we continue to be the one you know who shows up.
Today's story is Higgins, A Drop with a Dream by Chris Boos. Once upon a time, there was a drop named Higgins. He was no ordinary drop of water. He was a drop with a dream. Higgins lived in a valley where it had not rained in a really long time. All the lovely grass was turning brown. All the beautiful flowers were drooping and wilting, and all the trees were also starting to droop. Higgins had a dream that one day the valley could be a beautiful place. But what could he do? After all, he was just one drop of water. One day, Higgins decided to travel and tell everybody about his dream. All the other drops listened very politely. One of them said, "Higgins, get your head out of the clouds. You can't spend your whole life dreaming." Higgins decided that he had to do something to make his dream come true. So he began to think and think and think, and one day while he was walking by a rusty bucket, he had an idea. If enough of us drops of water got together in this bucket, Higgins thought, there'll be enough water to sprinkle on the few flowers to help them grow and become beautiful again. Eagerly, Higgins told everyone his great idea, but everyone thought he was being foolish. That Higgins, he's nothing but a dreamer, they said. Higgins decided he had to do something to convince the others that he was right. So he said to them, "I don't know about you, but I'm getting in the bucket. I hope some of you will join me." So Higgins took a deep breath, and he ran as hard as he could, and he hopped way into the air, and kerplunk, he landed in that bucket. And there he sat, just a drop in the bucket. For a long time, Higgins was very lonely. It seemed like nobody was going to join him in this bucket. After a while, some of the other drops could see that the grass was turning brown, and the flowers were wilting, and the trees were drooping. They all agreed that something must be done. And suddenly, one drop shouted, "I'm going into the bucket with Higgins." And he got ready, and he ran, and he leaped through the air, and swoosh, kerplunk. Now he was in the bucket. Then 2 other drops yelled, "Wait for us!" And they ran, and swoosh, they landed in the bucket. And then 10 drops jumped and landed in the bucket. And then 30, and then 50, and then 100 drops came from all around just to hop in that bucket. Soon the bucket was completely full of water, but there were still more drops that wanted to join. So they found another bucket and hopped in. Before long, there were 2 buckets, and then 3, and then 4, and then 10, and then hundreds, and then thousands of buckets of water. Along came a powerful breeze that blew over all the buckets, and all the water flowed out. Everywhere that the water flowed, the grass turned green again, the flowers started to bloom, and the trees stood tall and straight once more. All this happened because Higgins had a dream, and his dream came true, because he knew that even though he was just 1 drop in the bucket, enough drops in the bucket make a bucket full. And then when there are enough buckets with the wind behind them, then justice will roll down like the waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. My name is Kat. I am one of the many drops of water in religious enrichment. Over the years, I've enjoyed volunteering in many places, from helping with the babies in the nursery to serving on the church board. But no matter what else I might be doing, the one thing I do is serve as a religious enrichment teacher. Our teachers are precious, and I'm honored to be one of them. I love learning new things for myself. And in teaching children or youth or adults, I love being able to help other people better understand themselves, each other, the world, and their place in it. And being open to the lessons that my students might bring to me. It's that exchange of ideas and being curious together that keeps my sense of spiritual wonder and awe alive. Thank you.
One, you volunteers, you are precious, and thank you for investing in a better world and future.
I'm Patty Reynolds. As a beginning, I would like to thank all of the volunteers in my life, both in our church and elsewhere in my life. Generally, I volunteer because it brings me joy. In an odd way, I feel it's my kind of fun. No kidding. More specifically, the volunteering I do is meaningful to me and a way to give back to the church and to the larger community. St. Francis of Assisi, long ago, published a prayer that says, in giving, we receive. From volunteering, I have received the gifts of greater understanding, greater compassion, and in-depth relationships with wonderful people who have become close friends. The church has been good to me, and I'm grateful for the guidance and opportunities it has provided to me over the past 42 years. My spiritual beliefs have changed over the past 4 decades, and the church has given me the opportunity to explore ideas and to develop my beliefs. I enjoy helping people and helping situations, so I can easily recommend volunteering. Overall, volunteering has been very rewarding to me, and I am grateful.
One, you volunteers, may you know that you are prayed for and appreciated. As we make space for the joys and concerns of this community, I invite you to join in our communion of names and add in the chat the names of those who are on your heart this morning, whether due to a joy or a sorrow. Bring your joys, bring your sorrows, and as we come together, come as you are. Your whole self is welcome here. In this sacred space we are creating together. We know that the world continues to be in chaos, war or threat of war, inclement weather, and more suffering. Let us send loving kindness to the world from the local community and beyond. Today, we remember Mary Lynn Boris and will light a candle in the spirit of honoring her life. The words are from her son, Neil Boris. They're the ones I will read after I light the candle. This past week, Marilyn Boris died peacefully at home, surrounded by family. Her grace in the face of incurable cancer was remarkable, but there is no doubt that the love of her one-you friends lifted her up immensely in the last year. Our family is thankful for the cards, letters, flowers, food, singing and sharing of love and laughter along the way. Marilyn was proud to be a 1U member, and our UU values were central in her life, even before she joined this church. She embodied ferocious goodness and gentle humility. We miss her already, and Neil promises more to follow. And now I invite you into silent prayer and meditation. I will first share the words of this prayer with you, which will be followed by a moment of silence. For our community gathered here, for the Spirit that called us together and drew us to this place, we give thanks this day. For moments we have shared with others, for times when we have reached out across barriers of distance and fear, for times when others have reached out to us, for moments when we have discovered another along our path, we give thanks this day. For this community of celebration and growth, introspection and solitude, for those moments of that peace which will passes all understanding, we give thanks this day. For gathering together out of distant places, for our weaving together out of many separate selves, this hour of celebration and worship, we give thanks this day. May we not forget to practice gratitude. And now join me in singing this next hymn, this little light of mine. Words will be on the screen.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Oh, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
1U volunteers, thank you for letting your light shine in our church community.
Good morning. I'm Rene Stuzman. In the early 1950s, First Methodist Church of Halstead, Kansas, burned to the ground. It was the church my father grew up in. He had just graduated from high school and he needed a job, and so he was hired on the job site as the congregation rebuilt. He worked with a stonemason, and the crew put up a blonde brick building. It's a lovely church. It's the church I grew up in. It's where I was baptized. I went to Sunday school. I was in the Christmas pageant. I was one of many shepherds in bathrobes in the back row. My sister got married in that church, and when my mom died in 1986, that's where we held the funeral. First Unitarian Church is my church, and it tugs at my heart that I cannot, like my father, say that with my hands, I built this church. I've been a member here for 30 years, a volunteer here for slightly longer than that. And I can tell you that the volunteer work here as part of this congregation has made my life richer. I've come with a couple of photos to share, and this first one, I'm going to turn around and see if it's there. There we are. What you're looking at, two church ladies doing church work. Sandy Pollock and I served as masters of ceremony at a drag show fundraiser in 2006, and we had a fine old time. We leased those evening gowns, and this may not come as a surprise to you, but I'm not all that familiar with makeup, and Julie Sullivan did my makeup, church volunteer work. Mike Palmatier, a former member, did my hair, church volunteer work. And in Gore Hall, we had that drag show, and I think there were 8 people who sashayed down the aisle helping us raise funds. Ben McKay put on a blue dress, church volunteer work. Curtis Michelson was Carmen Miranda, and man, he rocked it. And Tim Wiley, volunteer work, volunteer work, volunteer work. My husband, that photo, that was taken at Sandy's house before we got to church, and my husband came over to take a look, and he did not recognize me. He also said, "Wow, you're hot." He has never said that to me since. I've had a bunch of church volunteer jobs. It has made my life richer. Currently, I sing in the choir, I'm on the nominating committee, and I work in the garden. But in the past, I've been an RE teacher for children for 1 year. I've been on the board of trustees, the endowment board, I've baked cookies for coffee hour. I've done a bunch of things. The most important gig, I think, was serving as co-chair of the fundraising committee to build this sanctuary. That was the early 1990s. And we raised more than $700,000 in pledges. That seems kind of modest now, but this was like 92, 93. That was real money then. I, of course, did not raise that money on my own. Gene Goodwin was co-chair. He's a retired Penn State professor. And dozens of church members served as volunteers and sat down with members of the congregation one-on-one and asked them for financial help to put up this building. A lot of people involved in that. There was also a building committee, and it was in charge of all the details. Hire a contractor, determine building materials. Where are we going to put that building on our space? Are we going to have pews or chairs? What color are we going to paint the air duct? They chose red. It's not red anymore, and I miss that. There's a second photo that I want to show. There we go. That is from 1993, and that is me accepting an award as 1U Volunteer of the Year. And that is our beloved Ann Cook handing me the certificate. That was before she was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And in the corner, that guy, half in, half out, that's Hal Issen. He's very happy. Because of volunteer work in this church, I came to know Ann very well. I've come to know Hal. They have made my life richer. And as Reverend Margalie said earlier, Ann's memorial service is planned for this sanctuary, should COVID allow, on February 12th. I want to circle back to that fire in the church in Kansas. I don't think it will happen, but should fire ever do damage here, destroy our sanctuary, our fellowship hall, the RE complex, we'll rebuild, and I will volunteer to help.
I am slacking in my duties, it would seem. 1U volunteers, thank you for giving your valuable time to this community.
We give to remind ourselves how many gifts we have to offer. We give to remember that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. We give with faith that together we have enough. We thank all the volunteers who give so generously, not just sharing their treasure, but sharing their time and talents. As willing and able, I invite you to consider donating to the many ministries of this congregation by clicking the donate button in the upper right-hand section of the 1U homepage, or by writing a check made out to the First Unitarian Church of Orlando, or by sending a text following the instructions in the weekly update. I invite you to consider giving of yourself, your time, and your talents. For the gifts which we have received and the gifts which we ourselves are, may we be truly grateful. May we be committed to using these gifts to make a difference in the world and to keep sharing as long as ever we can.
way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And if you threw a party, oh, invited everyone you knew, well, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. If it's a car you lack, I'd surely buy you a Cadillac. Whatever you need, any time of the day or night, I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will be this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And when we all get older, with walking canes and hairs of gray, have no fear, even though it's hardly here. I will stand real close and say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
When you volunteers, when we throw parties, we know the biggest gifts are from you. The gift of your attention and service. Thank you, well, okay, for being a friend.
Good morning. My name is Martha Hartgering. Newly married, John and I joined First Unitarian 13 years ago. John had belonged to another UU church in Connecticut, and I had been without church for decades, and I was just fine. Immediately, the UUA Standing on the Side of Love message grabbed my attention. Standing up for principles in the public square was a way to be positive while advocating for change. And unfortunately, there were many opportunities over the years to show up, mostly in the streets, sometimes at government meetings, and on this campus. During these last 10 years, I have also attended cluster meetings, Southern Region meetings, and worked on a cluster newsletter, learning more about Unitarian Universalism as a community endeavor, learning ways to put our principles to work in the larger 1U community and beyond. Since COVID, I have shown up for local, state, and local Zoom meetings, and I have served on the board of UU Justice Florida, which concerns itself with Florida justice issues and supports justice work in our congregations. More recently, I volunteered to work on the new 1U Justice Council, which was created to support 1U's justice teams and initiatives. Currently, I am helping with the new member directory, the new website, and new ways to communicate and share information. 1U is taking the lessons of Zoom into the future so that each of us can continue to connect, serve, and grow personally and as a member of this beloved community.
Good morning. I'm John Hartgering. Last fall, I signed up for a Wellspring program called Faithful Actions. The focus is about how our spiritual lives, when we are deeply grounded and self-aware, support our service to the community. My spiritual journey began in the early 1990s after several years of studying Eastern religions when I began to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, which lasted over 11 years. Habitat's work is infused with love and action, an opportunity to live our spiritual lives and celebrate the opportunities we help bring to people in need. When I first came to 1U, I was an introvert in a room full of total strangers and not a clue about what to say to anyone. But we started attending a drop-in covenant group, which began working on a service project. Being part of one, then two, then three different groups working together in service to the church or for social justice was very enriching, especially given the excellent leadership and companions on the journey who were also committed to a good outcome. The more I engaged, the more I truly felt part of a community of people who I respected and admired in a way that I never had before. I also learned how vital the work of all church volunteers is doing to strengthen us. As an active volunteer, I have come to know people in a different way than I might have in a coffee hour conversation. Serving multiple years on the board, on our 2 renovation dream teams, and several other groups has filled my life with people, wonderful, amazing people. I am so grateful to be able to volunteer here. I would like to close with a quote from Maya Angelou. When you do nothing, you feel overwhelmed and powerless. But when you get involved, you feel a sense of hope and accomplishment that comes from knowing you are working to make things better. Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm not doing a whole lot of talking. I'm looking at the time. Such wonderful experiences shared here with us. Thank you again so much. And the Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Romans, wrote, "We have different gifts based on the grace that was given us." We all have gifts. You have likely heard me say that before, but most importantly, we have different gifts. And since they are different, those who are called to serve do so in different ways, all the ways you heard shared here, which is wonderful because that's what it takes to nurture a religious community such as ours. And as you heard from our speakers this morning, as they nurture this place, this space, they too are nurtured. Tending to the needs of this church feeds their spirits and enriches their lives. Now, I know that not everyone can volunteer to the level you have heard here. But I bet some of what you heard today resonated with you. So, to all of you who can offer the gift of time and choose to do so, know that you bless this community every day. All of us benefit from all that you do, as none of our ministries can function without your labor of love. I invite all of us to always take notice and thank our volunteers often. And when you can, join them in this sacred work. To end, I offer up into this community the lyrics of "We Shall Be Known" by Mamuse. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive and deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead and love. Please join me in our closing hymn, "Fire of Commitment." Again, the words will be on the screen.
From the light of days remembered, burned burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise and fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
One, you volunteers, thank you for your fire of commitment to this community. May your minds be clear. May your hearts be open. May your bodies and spirits be one, so that you may serve the world in love and return safely home. Beloveds, worship has ended, and now the service continues.
Please join with me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.